see the king. But when they get there, they stop. And what they do is they attack the Barrier de la Conférence, which was just at this side. But really interesting, this mob of Vandals, this ignorant bunch of barbarians, had turned up with stonemasons.
Somebody's microphone is on. Good morning, everyone. Before you come for this session, make sure your system is in order, and because any disturbance arising at any port, specifically those who are connecting through Skype, feeds the noise and the disturbance into the system, and that is recorded. If you listen to this broadcast afterwards, you will notice that where the disturbance is coming from. This is live streaming via YouTube, live Facebook streaming, and those who are connected via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. Man has led astray by many, and for this he himself is responsible. He had allowed himself to be led astray. What is to be done then? Meditate, and that is the only thing that you can do. Man has led astray, but you continue to meditate. And as you continue meditation, slowly and slowly, meditation deepens. And as meditation deepens, you will feel intoxicated. You feel as if you want to remain more and more silent and indrawn, conserving your energies. This is totally different kind of intoxication that you have never known before. This is elevating and transforming as well. It is like you are in a different world. You are touching something within you, the higher altitudes, and no one can destroy this except you, and that is what you are doing. You are destroying that journey to those higher altitudes within you. You can destroy it, but nobody else can. It is totally your creation. You can destroy it or you can nourish it. Remember it always, because it is difficult to move on heights. We are not attuned for heights, because the moment you are moving to the heights, many things begin to happen to you. We are not attuned for heights. Instead, we are attuned and accustomed to crawling on the ground. That is why whenever you attain to height, you cannot remain on that altitude for long. You cannot remain in that state for long. That is why whenever you attain to a height, you do not remain for long. Sooner or later, you descend back into the dark valley of your life. Then it becomes just a memory. Not only that, it becomes frustration because now you know that height is possible. You have attained to that height. You have lost your path and you are back in the valley. In fact, you were better before. When you did not know the height, you did not had the glimpse of light. So you were thinking that valley is the only life. Now that you have tasted something new, higher, you do not want to remain in the valley. So if you are feeling high, if you are touching some altitude within you or some depth within you, within your consciousness, it is as if some sky is opening itself to you. Then be very careful, because very fragile is the flower of consciousness. Very fragile is the flower of consciousness. Very, very fragile. It can be destroyed in a single moment of unawareness. It needs lives together to create it, and in a single moment of unawareness, single moment of unawareness is enough to destroy it, and it is gone forever. But nobody else can take it from you when you are aware. This is certain. Nobody can rob you of it. It is something within you, so you can be killed, but it cannot be destroyed or killed. It is absolutely yours. Even if I want to take it back from you, one in whose company you have attained to this, even if I want to take it away from you, I cannot take it, because in fact I have not given it to you. You have given it to yourself. It has happened in a certain presence. My presence may have helped as a catalytic agent, and that is all. And that is all. My presence has triggered something in you. Even if I want to take it back from you, it can never happen. But never be satisfied with this, that nobody can take it, but you can destroy it. In a single moment of unawareness, it is destroyed. The danger will come from you and you alone. Do not look around for enemies. Look for the enemies within. Bhagavad Gita has a particular couplet that says, mind is your friend and mind is your enemy. Man mana mad bhakto. Mind is your enemy as well as friend. Do not look for the enemy outside, instead look within. And what is the enemy? Who is the enemy? The inner enemy is your anger, your hatred, your jealousy, your envy, You're not accepting the things the way they are happening. They are watching. They are watching you flying so high. They are getting ready to pull you down, to pull you back to the valley where you were, where they think you belong to. Watch there. The enemy within you is pulling you, and the enemy that is there within is your friend as well. Mahavir has said that you are your enemy only if you are not alert, and you are your friend as well when you are alert. Everything depends on your awareness, if you are aware or unaware. If you are aware, then nothing can disturb you. And if you are not, the vice versa cannot happen. You cannot remain unconscious as you were before, because before you had no treasure, there was nothing to be guarded. Now the more you grow inside, the more you will have to guard and protect yourself in the app. But what had happened? For centuries, for lives, man had been led to astray. It will be erroneous to say that man has gone astray. Instead, from the very beginning, man has been led astray. There is nothing for you to wonder about it. You have been unconscious. That is why you have allowed the society, the priest, the family to condition you in a particular fashion, in a particular manner. And they all align together so that you cannot rebel. And then suddenly you realize that you are astray, you are puppet in their hands. Ironically, all blame goes to you, not to the system. Then suddenly you realize that you are astray. Great insight has happened to you. Man is astray. This sin is not to be committed because it has already been committed. That is the meaning of the Christian parable. That is the meaning of the Christian parable that says Adam committed this sin, the first man. Man is born astray, and that is the meaning of it. And we are already in sin. The word sin is very beautiful. You wonder why I am saying the word sin is beautiful? Because it is beautiful. The original root from which this word sin comes means that which is missing the target. Sin does not mean sin, instead it means missing the target. When you lose the track of the direction on the road, you do not call it a sin, you simply call it, I missed the road where I was supposed to turn. But we are led, we are gone astray. From the very beginning, man is astray, so there is nothing for you to do to go astray. Whenever you are missing your goal, your target, you are led astray. You do not know who you are, why you are, and where you are heading, and for what. Who you are, what you are, where are you heading to, and also for what purpose. You just go on drifting like the boat drifting in the current. Remember, this is the first realization. I am astray. Certainly, this astray will make you come back on the path. The moment Adam realized, I have committed this sin, he was returning back home. The moment you realize that whatsoever you are, whosoever you are wrong, the journey back home begins in that very moment. The moment you realize that whatsoever you are and wherever you are wrong, the journey homeward begins possible. However, it is very difficult to realize this. The mind tries to protect in every possible way. Mind tries to protect in every possible way. It rationalizes in many ways because the mind belongs to the world. Mind is dualistic and it belongs to the world of the priests, your dogmas and creeds. It goes on protecting not exactly you, but your astrayness. That quality that you have been led astray. You have to drop all protections. You have to drop all rationalizations. Once you understand that you are astray, suddenly realization dawns that you have nothing to save in this world. This wealth, power, prestige, nothing is of worth a dime. It is all rubbish, and you are losing something significantly valuable for this rubbish. You have bargained this rubbish for something more valuable, and you are protecting the rubbish. You are selling yourself and purchasing the toys that are destroying the possibility of creating a soul for nothing. This is the basic realization. And this realization brings the first breakthrough. And this breakthrough is essential. This brings the first breakthrough in you. Feel happy about it if you have recognized the fact that you are astray. If you have recognized the fact that you are not wrong in a particular way, instead, in a generalized sense, not wrong because you are angry or full of hatred, or you have done this or that, not in any particular way but in a generalized sense, one feels one is astray. Only then door opens for growth. Only then door opens for growth. Let me emphasize this. This is the basic realization that brings the first breakthrough. Feel happy that if you have recognized the fact that you are astray, if you have recognized the fact that you are not wrong in a particular way, instead in the general sense of the word, instead in the general sense, not wrong because you are angry or full of hatred or you have done this or that, not in any particular way, instead in a general sense, you feel astray. Only then the doors open for growth, and suddenly you start looking in another dimension. Then suddenly, instead of looking out, you start looking within, because whatsoever you do on the outside will lead you more and more astray, will keep you more and more away. The more you chase shadows outside, the more you will be losing yourself in the world. Once one starts closing the eyes and feeling and touching one's being, the first thing is to know is, who am I? And everything else becomes secondary. If you have not known who am I, then all other things will become difficult. And if this primary mystery is penetrated, then all else is solved automatically. And if you do not solve this, you do not have the answer to the basic question, basic quest of the man. Who am I? Who am I is the basic quest in an individual. If you have discovered who am I, then everything else becomes easy. And whatsoever you do, after you had gotten the answer, the understanding, who am I, then whatsoever you do becomes irrelevant, because you have gotten the basic answer to yourself. What are you doing? You are not trying to realize yourself or trying to compete with others. Remember, nobody is trying to be oneself. Everyone is trying to be oneself. No, nobody is trying. Instead is trying to defeat the others. One day someone has asked me, a person met and said, so you have a competition in business now, because somebody else started this similar kind of business that you have been doing for your livelihood. My reply was, I have no competition with anyone. The person was surprised. How can you say that you have no competition with anyone? Yes, the first criteria is that I have no competition with anyone except with myself. My competition is with myself, how I performed yesterday and how I am performing now. That is my competition. If you are in a particular field, maybe you are an air hostess. How did you perform? How did you serve the last traveler? That is the basis on which you have to move a step forward. You are analyzing that you have missed in giving a little more service to the person, or when the person was pressing the bell again and again, kind of anger was filtering into it. Only you can realize this, because nobody else. The moment you realize that and then you decide that you are not going to allow this to happen again to you, because in doing that, You may be smiling on the surface, but deep within you are doing something which you need to protect. Your competition is with that state, and only you can improve upon this. And the moment you decide, you understand this and you decide, you are on the path. Remember, nobody is trying to be oneself. Instead, everybody is trying to defeat the other. In the world, everyone is living to compete against another. Somebody purchases a car. Now, you too have to purchase a car. And not only a car, but a bigger one, because you want to show. You may not need it, but now your ego is at stake. Somebody builds a big house. Now you have to make an even bigger one. This is how life goes on being wasted. Why should you be worried about what others are doing? That is their things to do. If they feel good, let them do it so. You should look at your own needs. You should look at your own performance. Ordinarily, there are two types of people. One who is competing with others, he will always remain miserable. I have known a particular incident when it was told to me. During Christmas time, it is a season of great opportunity when the traders are trying to ply their trade, and everybody is trying to sell the most sellable item. The bicycles, the toys, the big and small, they have a high demand. During Christmas time, people buy the BMX bikes, and the bikes are not to be kept on the shelf. Instead, they are displayed almost in front of the store, and if you have a space outside, so you put it outside. And in the area on the street, there are many traders who are dealing in similar item. I was told this is how the competition goes on. X decides to increase his sale, so he reduces the price of his BMX bike by $5. The B trader, he has his marshals, sales girls as marshals. Their job is to look at the reaction or action of the others, their neighbors, their competitors. And that is how in economics there comes two terms, oligopoly and duopoly. Oligopoly means a situation when you have more than two competitors dealing in the same trade, and duopoly means two, and you have to be aware of the moves of your competitors. So this marshal brings the information to B, and says that the first trader has reduced the price of his BMX by $5. The B thinks over it and says that drop the price by $6 or $7. So the price tag is changed. A has reduced the price by $5, B have reduced it by $7. Now it is the time for the marshal of the trader A to be active. But the C comes in place and realizes that A had reduced it by 5, B had reduced by 7. So he decides and he tells the salesperson, go and reduce the price by $10. Or say, you buy one bike and you get a cash back of $10. Not saying that the price is reduced, instead you're saying you get $10 back. This is how it goes on. We live in this kind of situation. You bought a car, your neighbor has to buy a bigger one. Then you have to prove your point that you were the first one to buy a big car. You may not need it, but now your ego is at stake. Somebody makes a big house, now you have to make even a bigger one. This is how life goes on, and you are wasting the opportunity. There are two types of people, one who is competing against the others, and the other who goes on condemning others that they are doing wrong. But in fact, both are wrong. You have to decide. Who are you to decide? If somebody is making a big house, who are you to decide whether he is doing right or wrong, whether he should do it or he should not? It is none of your concern. It is for him to think about it. You should only think about whether what you are doing is good for you or not. Perhaps you may not understand this. People go to absurd lengths. I mean absurd lengths in competition. And people go on denying every day. One day death possesses you, and then you remember that your whole life was wasted in fighting against others. And it was pointless, but it is too late to realize this now. You should have put your whole energy in realizing yourself. Man as he is simply living in a dream state. This dream of ego, ambition, power, prestige goes on even when you are awake. The religious man is one who has come to understand that all this is going to lead astray. One day when you look back at your life, you will not be able to see a single act that was full of intelligence. Your entire life was full of stupidity and foolishness. You will feel simply ashamed. The sooner you realize this, the better it is. And it is easier to drop the past than to renovate it. You know, when you want to renovate the house, the cost is much higher than you break it and build all over again. It is easier to completely cut off from your past rather than you trying to modify it. You can paint a foolish thing. You can modify it, but you cannot make it wise. It will always remain foolish. It is better to drop it. So if this recognition has come to you that you are astray, feel blessed that something has dawned to you. then do not forget to drop it at all. Drop the old patterns, and then you will begin to move in a different direction. Remember this continuously. Unless you have come back on the path, what you do when you are driving along the highways or byways, you have your GPS system on, you missed a turn, what you do? You become aware while the GPS system is recalculating the route, and when it has done, in the process of recalculating the route, it may allow you to go this side or that side because there are certain streets which have no entry, so you have to go through those streets that have an entry allowed, and finally take a loop. This process, this thing is known as loop. On the highway there are many places where they have shops, shopping center, because while driving on the highway, you need to take a little rest. So you take that loop, you go to that shopping center, relax yourself, give an opportunity for the vehicle to take a rest, fill the gas again, and have something to eat and relax a little bit, and then come out of that loop to go again on the highway. This is known as that you are back on the track. Something like this happens while you are continuing your inward journey. You miss something, you take a loop, and you have to be very alert until you have come back on the right track. Just recognizing it once. Unless you have come back on the path, go on remembering it again and again. Just recognizing it once will not do anything. You will have to live it. Remember it for a long time continuously, again and again. So the hammering continues, and whatsoever you have done in the past is finished completely. Whatsoever you have done and that has led you to this position is not repeated. At least if you remember that it was all wrong, then do not try to decide that a few things were still good in that. Because it has led you astray, that means do not rationalize anything, that somebody was distracting you and that's why you missed. But that is not going to do. As a driver, you're supposed to keep your focus on the road. Either all things are wrong or all things are right. There is no other way out. It is not possible that a foolish man can do a few things right. They are. And the vice versa is also not possible, that a wise man can do a few things that are wrong. A wise man does everything right and a fool goes on doing everything wrong. But the fool would like to choose at least a few things right to say, yes, it is true. I have done many things wrong, but not at all. Then these things that he saves and says was right will become the center of ego again. So be totally fed up of your past Once you recognize that the whole past was wrong, you simply drop it. Then do not bother to choose. There is nothing to choose. It all came out of your state of unawareness, your state of unconsciousness. It was wrong. Your hatred was wrong. So was your love also. Your anger was wrong. So was your compassion as well. If you seek deep down, you will always find wrong reasons for your compassion or your love. A foolish man is foolish, and whatsoever he does remains foolish as well. So it will have to be remembered continuously. I say remember this continuously so that it becomes a constant remembrance. That is what Buddha used to call mindfulness, a constant remembrance. Once you know this, then you will not repeat the things again. One should remain mindful so that the things are not repeated again, because only mindfulness will protect you and will not be able to let you repeat your past again. Otherwise, mind likes to repeat the things. If you are mindful, you have understood that you have missed the road, you are now off the track of the mainstream. Carefully you follow the loop and you find yourself back on the highway, you are on track. Then continue. Be mindful that these things are not repeated again. Be mindful that these things are not repeated again. Only this much for this morning. Until tomorrow.